apparatus is here. When I rock a rhyme, often eyes are dropping a tear. It's so beautiful, it's America's landscapes when this man makes lyrics like the syrups that you pour upon your pancakes. My mandate is to grip minds like a handshake. Spit Orlando Lakes and go skinny dip with the fan base. Over any damn breakbeat, I hastily make pastries tastier than anything that Wolfgang makes. So take notes out of suckers, I make coats, lump of some like Bubba Gump, fishing on lake boats. I take jokes and turn the comedy into drama. I'm bagging on your mama, I'm Jeffrey Dahmer behind ya. I'm a rhyme writer, lock stock, smoking the ganja. Rebuttals befuddle, leaving a puddle of saliva, sillies. You couldn't handle Randall when I throw my grammar at you. It hit your head and you would think I threw a hammer at you. I point the camera at you like Herb Ritz. Develop it, then use the pictures to pick up bird shits. You're nervous as the impervious wordsmiths hanging out in Rafa's new crib come with the verses. Yeah.
Yo, we had to come correct. Happy May the 4th. Starting this week, guys. So, we had to come with the Star Wars with me and my man, Mikey Sutton. Say what's up to the good folks, Mikey.
Hey, hello, everybody. Great being here on a wonderful Sunday.
Yeah, I just realized.
We got a new Star Wars show coming up, don't we? On the Big Batch, right?
Starting on Tuesday for Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you all. So I had to represent Star Wars. I can't believe it's going to be May the 4th already. So, the Bad Batch is starting.
Up, man.
That's right, man. Things are getting back to normal, man. Yeah. Almost, man. So, welcome to Letters from the Long Box, where me and Mikey answer all the questions that you have. If you have any questions in this live chat, make sure you hold off until after we're done with our questions we selected from last week's video and from the Geekosity Facebook page. This show is sponsored by our friends over at KRSComics.com. Go over to KRSComics.com, use discount code of LOTLB to get 15% off anything in the KRS Comics exclusive stores that just recently dropped this Star Wars homage. And this, I think, Cover A are the only ones that are left, maybe. I think the rest of them sold out, but you can use the Lord's discount on any of those items there, including this. That's over on KRS Comics website. And they also have a pull box at KRSPullbox.com. Use discount code LOTLB to get 15% off anything on your weekly pulls as well. And I'll just tease this for you. That is coming.
That's awesome.
That's all I can say. The final Donnie Cates issue. Shout out to Donnie Cates from the Lords of the Long Box. I invoke his name, so I got to do it. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. I want to thank you guys all for joining us on the Sunday evening to cap off your weekend or your week. Shout out to Danzig, FOMO, Eric, Sox Bulletins, Michael Beast Benson, Comic Book Human, David Shane, Cherokee Metal, Peter Porker, T-Bone, Sassy Pants, Uncanny Swag, Sean Miller. It goes on and on. We got Issue, Lon Espinoza, what's up? Stan Morgan, John Valenzuela, Rudy Tag. We got issues. It just goes on and on. So this is like the back of a comic book where Mikey and I will answer the questions that you have, just like in the letters section of a comic book. Do people even do that anymore? Because it's so much easier now. If you remember back in the day, you actually had to write a letter, right?
Yeah, and I actually did. I got 2 of them published, actually 3 letters published. back in 1990. So.
I think George R. Martin too. There's there's some CDC labels will point out a book if it's a famous person that wrote a letter to the comic book, which is pretty interesting. Nowadays, it's an email address. It's easy, right? Easy.
Yeah, I mean, George R. Martin got published in Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
that's raving about Stan and Jack. Who would have thought, right?
Yeah. Yeah, now he's still trying to figure out how to write his last book. The show has jumped his writing so much. I mean, to the point where the prequel started filming already, man. There's all kinds of crazy, excellent stuff coming on TV. We have a Lord of the Rings prequel show as well as a Game of Thrones prequel show. Man, that's amazing.
I haven't even seen Invincible yet. That's how behind I am. I haven't seen it.
It's incredible. You got season 2 and 3 are coming. So I just watched... Lord. Yeah, I just watched the finale last night. I almost finished Yasuki, which is based on the true life story of an a black samurai that just dropped on Netflix as well.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff right now, man, on all the streamings. Like, unfortunately, I don't have no new movies, but, at least we have some stuff we can stream. The Nevers is good, too. If you haven't seen that on HBO, peep out The Nevers. I'm enjoying that. It's like a Victorian X-Men. Full on with a chick in a wheelchair, like Professor X and everything.
Wow!
It's from Josh, the creative mind over Josh Whedon, but not so much. He helped create the show, and then he left when all that stuff started happening. But his name is still part of it. But it's a whole different showrunner, writers, and everything. But I like it so far. But let's get right to it, boys and girls. We got our first question here from, and I always butcher his name. Forgive me, Manmohan Mahatha. I hope I said that right. Hey, Mikey and T-VO, we got news about the Sony Netflix streaming deal. I knew this was going to be asked eventually. What does this mean? The Sony buyout is again back on the table for the studios? I'm assuming that means the purchase of Sony studios by whomever or whatever. What have you heard? First of all, let's explain to people what the Sony Netflix deal is. From what I understand, it is Netflix has is getting the rights to stream their films after they appear in the theaters, correct? Mm-hmm. So it's that whatever 90 to 100-day release window after it comes out, and then Netflix has the first rights to that, correct? This doesn't affect anything else, or I think that's what the question is. What have you heard about this?
Yeah, and after it's finished their runs on Netflix, it goes straight to Disney Plus or Hulu or FX, all the Disney properties, and you'll be able to see all the Spider-Man films on Disney Plus, so they'll be housed in one place. Now, what's really interesting about this deal is that prior to this, everything on Disney Plus are films and shows they personally own. This is the first licensing deal Disney has ever done. Everything on Disney Plus is Disney owned. Like they own Fox, so you see Fox shows on there, Fox movies on there. And I'm not shocked that Sony would be the first licensee out of the gate.
Yeah, because they already have a kind of built-in relationship, right?
Yeah, and it's getting closer. I mean, their relationship is tighter than ever. And there are parts of this deal that are just starting to leak out that I am hearing about from various sources and insiders. You're going to see both of them working much more closely together. You might want to throw a cannonball out there. I think it's kind of cannonball.
This will be our first cannonball of the day, boys and girls. This is a Mikey Sutton Geekosity exclusive.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Cannonball!
It's all yours.
So I scooped a few months ago or so that Norman Osborne was coming to live action again and be included in the MCU because they are developing Dark Avengers. Yeah. Now for the longest time, T-VO, you and I go way back on this. When you and I first met, we were talking about Norman Osborne is not going to be the big bad for the MCU because Disney doesn't own the character, and there's always a chance.
I think this is in rebuttal to Grace Randolph saying that Avengers Tower was going to be Norman. Norman Oscorp, right? She said that was her scoop. That it was like and this was back when this was like prior to the last Sony Marvel deal. So this our contention was no way Feige was going to put Norman Osborn at the center of the universe. And sure enough, what happens? Right after that, we get the Sony pulling the rug, and Sony and Marvel had a slight little divorce. So that kind of cemented. But what are you hearing now about Norman Osborn?
Yeah, so he still won't be the big bad, namely because Kevin Feige wants a more powerful character. To be that big bad.
So I mean, wood powers.
So Galactus and Doctor Doom are still slated to be those figures, but you are going to see Osborn in MCU films. They do have that freedom now, but it goes beyond Osborn. Is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing is that Marvel Studios is they don't have permission yet, but they can get permission to include other characters in the MCU besides Spider-Man. And case-by-case basis, depending on who they like. And what I'm hearing is that Sony would like Marvel Studios to do Agent Venom.
That's one of our long-term spec lists.
That is on the table. Is Agent now? Marvel Studios hasn't made a decision yet on whether or not they want to pursue this, but that option for them is on the table.
Do you think also? I'll ask the obvious follow-up to Manmohan's question here. And how does this affect the Silk film that was rumored to be on Amazon Prime, which I still find kind of hard to believe that they would do that?
That's basically Sony just wanting more money, and so they're going to get money from Netflix and Amazon. They're going to get money from Disney. It makes sense from a business perspective. I mean, they have been struggling financially. They're going to get a financial windfall from 3 companies. And they can balance it out by what I just mentioned, because when I say that they can option other characters for the MCU, Silk is one of them. I mean, Silk's already in the MCU because Cindy Moon was in the Homecoming.
Yeah, but how would this affect? Would it be a standalone like Venom type project, or will it have ties to the MCU?
No, this will be completely standalone. They'll have no ties to Tom Holland whatsoever. It's a different older Silk. I mean, even if they age up the character in the MCU, which 5 years later, this Silk will still be older than her.
Because Peter Parker's still in high school, even after 2 films.
He's still in high school.
Yeah. By the way, today
20-something Silk,
Yeah. Today is actually the 7-year anniversary of the Amazing Spider-Man #2 that came out. Andrew Garfield, and it was trending today on Twitter. And you know what? I was like, there were some actually really cool scenes in this film, right? I mean, besides the whole thing about his parents being spies and all that shit, but
he was cracking jokes. I mean, that part was,
Yeah, the scene where Spider-Man goes up the stairs against Electro and he's saving the people and he does that thing with his web shooter and it shoots in like 6 different directions. That was cool. That's something I'd never seen in a Spider-Man film yet. So there you go, man. God, any word on, since this wasn't asked, but I'll ask you since this is somewhat related to Sony, any word on when we're going to see the Venom trailer?
No word yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. There's always been like conflicting rumors about that in the past.
Yeah, almost like what's taking it so long too.
I just want to mention that since we're on the topic of trailers, Eternals.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been asking me, "Hey, the director just won an Oscar or 2 Oscars, Best Director and Best Picture. Why isn't Marvel Studios putting out the Eternals trailer?"
That's easy.
And the reason why is that they have Shang-Chi trailer
Exactly.
out.
Yeah, that's why I had a debate with this on Matt Jarbo on Twitter.
Yeah.
He's like, the reason the Eternals trailer is not coming out is because they don't think it's going to do very well. Well, that's contrary to what I'm hearing. To the point where Kevin Feige showed it to the heads of Disney and they all lost their shit over it. But Kevin Feige even said so in an interview with Variety that he wants Chloe Zhao to have her time to shine with Nomadland, to let her do her rounds. And they just released, Marvel has never released 2 different trailers in the same week unless it was San Diego Comic-Con or if it was D23. But they're going to allow Shang-Chi to let that movie trailer get its own buzz because, I mean, Shang-Chi comes out in September. and Eternals doesn't come out till I think the end of this year, like either November or December. So they're gonna allow Shang-Chi trailer to garner as many views and much talk as it can. Even Feige was even a bit like, when he got interviewed on Variety, he kept on deflecting back to Chloe Zhang and saying, no, hey, we let her, he was letting her get her shine, letting her get her flowers for Nomadland before they started, hey, we're going to shove Eternals down your throat. But everything I've heard from what they're saying is the practical effects that Chloe Zhao used is she used more real shots and less green screen than any other major Marvel film. If you think about that, and if you think of Nomadland, the use of real life like camera footage and the lighting that she used is absolutely phenomenal. But interesting how they pluck an obscure director and then they got an Oscar right before they drop an Eternals movie. That's just kind of incredible. But hey, that's only our first question.
And you have Black Widow, and you have Loki coming out. And he doesn't want a logjam of trailers out there. And here's the thing about Eternals. Two things. Kevin Feige has a long-term plan, and he never changes from it. No matter what happens, he's not reactionary.
Yeah. One last thing, Mike. Guys in the live chat, please hold off your questions until we finish with this next group of questions. Peter Porker, I saw your question. We will get to that at the end. We have about 10 questions we're going to do. So if you can, hold off, guys, and we'll try to cover as much as we can. But I really like this question. Mikey, you already know where we're going with this one. But go ahead, man. Finish it down. We'll go to the next question.
But anyway, the Eternals is going to be a long-term success because Feige is looking at Oscars with this film. It's the most seriously, of all the Marvel films, it has the most serious Oscar potential. And he knew this before she won. Like, when he was watching the dailies and everything, he was like, oh my God.
And it was announced that the main character is going to be Gemma Chan. So, what's her name? Cersei. So she's going to be the main character. It's not Angelina Jolie or not Salma Hayek or all these other characters. So it's going to be Cersei. As we know from the comic books, Cersei and the Black Knight actually are getting a relationship, but they're both members of the Avengers at one time. So fun fact. So there you go. Thank you for the question. Next up is our question from our friend Eric S. Hurd. Love the show. Is the introduction of Wolverine going to be a Disney Plus series? And what's the odds of they do growing up World War II, then return to Canada to fight the Hulk, and then meets the X-Men? Wow, that's a lot for one show.
Mike, okay?
Yeah. You were just for a little bit, but you sound good now.
Anyway, no Wolverine on Disney Plus. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen.
I think this is because there was rumors. I don't know who spread it, but a Wolverine anthology series for Disney Plus, and we both agree Wolverine is too big of a character for. They're going to save him for the big screen, right? I mean, a Wolverine anthology series would mean the character was introduced on Disney Plus, and they want to make the big moment on the big screen.
They know that Wolverine in the MCU is $1 billion easily.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Come on,
especially if they do a Hulk 180 story, 181, where Hulk, Wolverine.
Game over, man. Game over.
Alpha Flight Canadians are going to lose their damn minds. They're going to be like, holy shit, Alpha Flight's on the screen. All right. So thank you for the question, Eric.
Just to let everybody know out there, Disney Plus is for characters that Kevin Feige believes cannot hold a theatrical movie yet. So there you go. Although
the success of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
There you go. See,
got Sam Mackey's own movie, so there you go. So it just goes to show him, man. If Hawkeye does well or WandaVision, I mean, now we saw the little live footage of Kamala Khan, so I think it's just a good time for those shows.
It's you remember back when we were kids, we had Marvel Premiere, Marvel Spotlight.
Oh yeah, the anthology series like Marvel Presents, Marvel Premiere, Marvel Feature, all
exactly. Oh, there you go. Same exact idea, right? Except for television. So
and it was a godsend for them, especially with theaters being shut down, that Disney Plus was able to do that, because I think that caused even more speculation and talk, and being that it was a weekly episodic release as well, built up week to week, and maybe we were to blame because some people were just a little speculated too much on it, a little too much Mephisto here and there, but can't wait for Loki, man. Well, actually, want to talk about, can't wait for Tuesday and the Bad Batch, man. So we got a little Star Wars as a buffer between that and the Loki series, man. So Thank you for your question. Yeah, thank you for your question, Eric. Next question is from Marvel Fan 3000. After finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7, is Enver Gokaj, God, I can't even say his name, going to return as Daniel Souza in the MCU? If so, will he appear in Secret Invasion, Sword, or a Sword season, or an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a renewal on Disney Plus? That's interesting.
All I've heard is Chloe Bennett will return, and Greg as Bill Coulson. Haven't heard anything about him though.
Yeah, because I mean, the end of last season of Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., I enjoyed it. I was one of the few that stuck out through every single season, right? And Fitzsimmons was great. Agent Coulson was great. And then it left. The ending of that series left it wide open to a couple of different areas that it could have went. Because obviously Agent Souza and Chloe are what's her name, Quake, ended up together. Flying out in outer space, so it leaves all kinds of things open to interpretation. I think the popularity of that show has, if you see every San Diego Comic-Con panel, it's one of the most popular because people loved, Agent Coulson, and they love all the characters. You have a certain demographic of people that grew up watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a good, 5-6 years, maybe? So, they grew attached to the characters, great question. Next question comes up from Eli Santos. Great show. My question is, the Eternals movie, will it have its sequels, or is it a one-time only? I think you answered that earlier, but I'll let you tackle it again.
No, they are planning on sequels for the film. But just as important is that they're planning a Black Knight franchise to spin off from it. That's one of the big characters that will come out of that film.
Oh, yeah. Do you think it's going to be Black Knight solo film, or Black Knight and then solo film and then leading into an Excalibur, Captain Britain Corps type show movie?
Yeah, well, the Excalibur will be his group show in the way that the Avengers is Iron Man's, group,
Yeah.
So you have your Black Knight solo films, and he'll be with Excalibur in terms of a group setting.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have realized this, but we already dropped 2 character names that'll be on the long-term spec list at the end of the show. So I'll keep you guessing to the end of the show. But oops.
I didn't even realize that when I was.
We still got a long-term spec list after this, boys and girls. So, but if you've been paying attention, we've kind of thrown away a couple of names already. All right. Next question comes from PH Comics. What are the chances of Dracula turning up in the MCU? Great show by everyone. Been watching for years. Thank you, PH Comics.
PH, are you in the Philippines? I'm curious.
Sounds like it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna be in Blade.
Yeah,
I heard. I actually reported a long time ago that he's a villain in
you
Blade.
If you have Dracula in the Marvel comics and you have Blade, you're almost not setting, and you don't put Dracula in there. It's, in the comics, Blade and Dracula have always thrown down, and this leads to the whole. Now, I can see them making Dracula more of maybe a supernatural character as opposed to a horror character to explain that whole thing. Maybe it's some type, like how they do in Morbius, how he's not really a vampire, but because it's some, deficiency, he needs to get blood, blah, blah, blah. They got to explain it somehow, just like they explain off gods and magic and everything. But,
and they really do want to, I'm sure they're going to hire an incredible actor for the role, because they are wanting to spin that off into a series, to move Dracula.
That would be awesome.
Now, what I've been hearing, is this a cannonball? I think
Oh, wait, this is the second cannonball, boys and girls.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Cannonball!
I scooped this so long ago. It's probably fresh now, again. But when I first heard about Dracula a few years ago, they were wanting to get Wesley Snipes to play Dracula. And your explanation sounds like a perfect way for him to be Dracula. You know? Right? So, and I think, how awesome would it be to have, Wesley Snipes play the Lord of the Vampires? I mean,
That would be awesome.
incredible.
Straight up Blackula, like the 70s film.
You're
right? Remember
exactly
Blackula?
right. Totally.
For kids who don't remember, man, there was a Blackula, blaxploitation film
Oh,
back
man, I love that
in
movie.
the 70s, man. That was crazy. Roy Langella, one of my favorite Draculas. Is that his name? Roy Langella? The 70s version? Or Frank Langella? Was that him?
Yeah, Frank
That
Langella,
dude?
that's
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, that was that one, and I actually really liked the last Universal film they did, where they showed like the origins of Vlad the Impaler. I really thought that was well done.
That was well done.
He was also in the Lord of the Rings Hobbit films. He was part of
okay.
in the Five Armies. The guy that played the Dracula. It's a shame that they never made the Universal MonsterVerse, man, because they were setting it up, nicely.
Yeah,
and then, the Mummy kind of ruined it all. But
it'd be great if Marvel did like a Hammer style, horror.
So
film.
you think Wesley Snipes definitely will be involved in Blade? As an homage, right? Just not playing Blade the character.
But to have flip the script and have him be Dracula. I mean, how perfect would that be? I mean,
that would be awesome. All right, thank you for the question, PH. Next question is from Ryan Ramos. Any chance the Inhumans make it to the MCU? They need redemption after Scott Buck screwed it up. Yes, he did. He also did the Iron Fist series.
Well, you saw the picture of Miss Marvel the other day. The new Inhumans will be following that. Don't be surprised to see an Inhuman or two on her show.
Really?
Yeah, but the royal family, you're saving them. But they're coming.
Black Bolt is too big. Yeah,
they're going to be in Fantastic Four. So
that must have really made Kevin Feige just pissed off for Jeff Loeb to take the Eternals from underneath. Remember, Eternals was supposed to be an MCU feature film. And then somehow, I don't know how Jeff Loeb got it and put it on ABC with the smallest budget possible. It was just awful.
Yeah, what happened there was that Ike Perlmutter was really upset with Fox because they couldn't use X-Men.
Yeah.
They tried dealing with Fox to use the X-Men, and so they felt that the Inhumans would be a perfect replacement for the X-Men. If you notice, around that time, Marvel started pushing the Inhumans comic book big time.
Yeah.
And then less of the X-Men. They really had a focus on Inhumans. That was
they had a whole nation. They had a whole like company-wide thing with the Inhumans, and then it was like the new Terrigen Mist and everything, and then just recently they came out with a new Eternals comic. So I mean, there's a rhyme and reason over there in the House of Mouse and what they do with the comics. But since we have a $5 super chat, I'll let you address this question. Thank you, Keith Newman. $5 super chat. He asks, how soon do we find out more information on the Heroes for Hire, Jessica Jones, and all the other shows that were on Netflix coming over to the MCU?
Okay. Before I answer that, just one last thing about the Inhumans is that Kevin Feige felt it was too soon to have an Inhumans film. There were other movies that he wanted to pursue. He didn't feel that the proposals he got for the characters were ripe yet. They were still struggling to get it right. And so he said, no, we can't do this as a film. Ike Perlmutter was still involved with Marvel Television back then. I said, okay, I'm taking it. And that's how you got that low budget,
And I think that also probably led to the split. I mean, between
it did.
Remember Loeb and Feige and TV.
All that stuff, yeah.
That whole thing with the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then how it delayed Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then at one point Kevin Feige just saying, no, I'm going straight over to Disney to get my marching orders. I'm tired of all this, and So I mean, for the most part, it's played out well. Now we have Disney Plus and we have all this other stuff. But for this question, I think one of these is to your scoop that you put on Geekosity.
Exactly, but to bring that up,
yeah. Go ahead and address this about the Netflix characters coming over to the MCU.
Sure. So I got a scoop today from Everything Always saying that Charlie Cox was going to make an appearance on She-Hulk. And so...
Matt Murdock.
As Matt Murdock, but not as Daredevil.
Not as Daredevil, The lawyer.
Daredevil they're going to save for a bigger project. Could be No Way Home, but I think he's still Matt Murdock in No Way Home as well. So they're going to save for the costume reveal because he will have a new costume.
But I think there's enough fans of Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, to where if they see him on screen,
they're gonna go crazy
with the red glasses and the cane, people are just gonna lose their damn minds. The first appearance of Daredevil will jump all over again. I swear to God, even though it's already a pricey book. But thank you for the question, Keith Newman. Let's get to the next one. We're moving on really slowly here, but we're getting there, man. Next one. This is a weird question too, by the way. It's just like a bunch of the way just the punctuation of this is Ronald Bourgeois asked, didn't they, period, they, dot, period, have, period, Elektra, and Bullseye in the Daredevil movies with Ben Affleck?
Yeah, but they didn't have it wasn't costume accurate, especially Bullseye. It wasn't as faithful to the original Frank Miller story as it should have been. It's not a bad film. You see the director's cut of that film. It's not bad.
It's not that bad. The Daredevil director's cut is not that bad, and the Daredevil Ben Affleck version is the best and only version to show how the proper use of Daredevil.
There you go. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for some reason in the TV show, no matter how excellent Netflix's Daredevil is, you never really got the sonar that when Ben Affleck used it in Daredevil. And plus, Jennifer Garner didn't pull off Elektra quite as well as Gemma Chan did.
Yeah, exactly. So
Gemma Chan was that Gemma Chan? Wait a second. No,
what's her face? No,
what's her name? The other Asian actress. See, there's so few of them we don't know. But I was just gonna say the girl that's playing Cersei, Gemma Chan, was also in Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
So she's one of the few people in the Marvel MCU that's played two different characters within the MCU.
As long as you're under alien makeup, it's okay, right?
Exactly, right? Exactly, yeah. So thank you for the question, Ronald. Next question up is from E-Man Balabar. All the Defenders actors are already, all the Defenders actors already all in? Question. I hope Finn Jones makes it. He deserves another chance. I'll let you comment on that, but everybody knows how I feel about that.
Yeah, he's not coming back. I mean,
So far, who have you heard that they're? What actors are they bringing over from the Netflix stuff?
All of them except Finn Jones.
Oh boy, that's sad. So we're gonna have.
It's pretty sad, but
So we're gonna have Bernthal's Punisher, Charlie Cox's Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and possibly the same actor did Luke Cage as well.
And Vincent, the Kingpin.
Vincent D'Onofrio is Kingpin because he's perfect for that.
And the Daughters of the Dragon. Foggy is interested in bringing them along. I think Cox already signed.
Yeah.
But the others, Mike Coulter's got a good chance of coming back. They like him a lot. That's Luke Cage.
Yeah. Plus, he's not doing too much now. And I think it was on a TV show or something a while ago.
Yeah, but Finn Jones just it's not really his fault because he was rushed into production. But they do want somebody who's better at martial arts. First of all,
I think the bar has been set really high now with Mortal Kombat, with Shang-Chi soon, with Warrior on Cinemax. That's going to be season 3 is going to be on HBO Max. So many. I mean, Into the Badlands. I mean, Iron Fist is just bad. I mean, there's so much you can do great choreography, but if you don't have the muscle memory and coordination to pull it off, it just doesn't look right. I mean,
what they're looking for with Iron Fist is somebody to be the Chuck Norris to Shang-Chi's Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
And they want somebody who can reach that level, and he's not going to do it. I mean, there's also a stigma on him now because of the show.
Yeah, but just kind of the Green Lantern effect, right? So bad.
Yeah, right. The Ryan Reynolds effect, right? So
yeah. Hey, we got another $3 super chat from the same guy. I'll let you answer this since we kind of talked about it before. Any scoop on the Thunderbolts?
Well, Baron Zemo will be broken out of the raft, and the Thunderbolts will form. They couldn't do this on the show. There was just not enough time to. They just all they had time for was to set it up. It's set up. I mean, the Thunderbolts are coming. If you guys are speculating on a book, you better speculate on Thunderbolts.
449. Yeah, I think that's possible. Yeah. I think the team is. Yeah, I think that it's not going to be the exact team that's in the comics, but perhaps the name. So I could definitely see it forming. Maybe U.S. Agent. Maybe I don't know. He kind of left it kind of gray. I mean, he had like a redemption arc at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, to where I don't think he really knows what he's doing. Like he doesn't know if Madam Viper there is on the good guy side or the bad guy side. So I think he just may be, he may be being used again as USA agent. So we shall see. Great
I heard
question.
that Thunderbolts are more in the also in, like the gray area. They're not really bad guys. They're kind of maybe like Suicide Squad. Like somewhere in between there.
Well, I mean, in the comics, right? The Thunderbolts form. And they actually are like, hey, we're bad guys, but let's just pretend to be good guys. And then later in the story arc, they're like half of them end up saying, I kind of like being a good guy, and they actually want to become good guys. So it's a very interesting run by Kurt Busiek, who did that run on Thunderbolts, which is a great play, and it takes how like Songbird and some of the other characters like, what, I enjoy being a good guy. Let's keep doing it. So there you go, man. All right, next question comes up from Chad Crow. Mikey Sutton, is the MCU building to the Ultimates as a team since all the players are in play now? Well, I don't know about all of them, but I'll let you answer that.
No, the Ultimates is pretty much whatever interest they had in there has faded.
Because in the comics, the Ultimates is T'Challa, Captain Marvel, Spectrum, or the other Captain Marvel, Miss America, which is already, she's going to be in the Doctor Strange film, and Black Adam. So I mean, there was tons of spec about the Black Adam when remember WandaVision came out, and she, all she did is simply said engineer friend of mine, and immediately everybody thought it was Black Adam. But
Blue Marvel,
Blue Marvel. I mean, we had it on long term spec list.
Yeah,
so Mikey, so hold on to those Adam Blue Marvel.
I would hold on to those. He's coming, just not yet, but he is coming. So
yeah, exactly. All right, last question is from David Seinberg, who's told me that it's either David or David. You can say it either way. Oh boy, I almost thought we'd go through one show without having to say the Snyder Cut, but here we go. If Snyder takes on Ghost Rider and other Marvel projects, would there be any issues with him doing both the Snyderverse and MCU at the same time?
Contractually, no. He's free to do both, but in terms of scheduling, that would be an issue. When you work on a Marvel project, it takes a long time.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think he's doing HBO products. I don't think he's even doing DC products right now. I mean, what's the last thing he said on Twitter where somebody said like they don't want or something, and then Zack Snyder replied they don't, and nor do they want me in regard to WB and that. So I mean, I think it's just, I don't know, man. I just think the Snyder stuff is like a dead horse that's being beat over and over again, and the silence is deafening, right? Plus if Snyder would, I would assume Snyder looks up to Kevin Feige and he would listen to whatever Feige gives him as.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. And it's interesting because when people were, when the script came out a few weeks ago, there were some naysayers saying that, oh no, this will never happen. And it's funny because a few days after that script came out, Feige was talking about the Eternals and how they chose the director, and he said that they had a short list of filmmakers before they went into greenlighting the film, and
you say Snyder cut one time and Syl Abdul just cuss.
He's got radar going on. So.
Jesus Christ. He's got like really bad spider sense where it's just the word Snyder that sets it off. But go ahead. Now, when you're referring to that scoop, you're referring to the scoop of Snyder perhaps would like to work on a Ghost Rider film, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's on a short list. See, Marvel Studios has a short list for every project.
Yeah.
Like, they say, hey, we're gonna do. Let's just say, we got Wolverine being planned. Okay, who's out there? Who would be the perfect match for this? And then they all get together and make a decision, and they hear pitches and everything. It's a very involved process.
Mm-hmm.
But when they have been discussing Ghost Rider, Zack Snyder is on the top of the list. It's, his social media presence is always big, but I think Zack Snyder does dark really well. That's his thing, his dark. I mean, his
dark and slow mo. Yep.
Dawn of the Dead is where he is for his film debut.
Mm-hmm.
and that was written by James Gunn too. By
James
the
Gunn,
way,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah. And
I
so
think
then you've
the
got
I think the
Army of the Dead
first
coming out. So.
yeah I think the first movie he wrote was Sucker Punch, whereas
Yeah.
Watchmen and 300 were written by other people, and Sucker Punch was the first one that was truly his vision, directorial, and and you could tell by the visuals, but the writing was suspect.
Yeah, that's what they're that's what when they were looking at him for Ghost Rider, is that visually it could be a very groundbreaking film for him.
And I can totally see Snyder taking Ghost Rider just to piss off WB and his legion of fans leaving WB to support the Ghost Rider. And I think Marvel is full on aware that he has a loyal army of people that will follow him.
Yeah.
They're following him now, and they're pushing his Army of the Dead over on Netflix, which Army of the Dead just looks insane, by the way. Like,
well,
you're
look
talking
what happened when Marvel fired James Gunn. He went across the street. Hey, I'm gonna do Suicide Squad.
He was immediately like the hottest free agent on the market.
Yeah,
right,
all of a
then and
sudden,
there.
James Gunn, come back.
Yeah. First, all the DC fanboys were like, "Yeah, screw James Gunn. He's a child molester." And then he's like, "Yay, James Gunn for Suicide. He's the best choice ever." It's like
I know, right?
time heals all wounds. Yeah.
He's very close friends with Zach. Believe those two are talking.
Yeah. Well, we're hearing a special $5 super chat for the Lumpia.
All right.
Yeah, we got Salamat. Any scoop on Judo Master?
God, I wish I had one. You know, of all the people I want to see in Suicide Squad is Judo Master.
That would be awesome. I mean, we finally got the Dragon guy. Wasn't he in a DC animated film recently?
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody out there, I think James Gunn posted a Judo Master image before, I think.
I think so. There was some spec about that, but I'm pretty sure.
But he's not in it. But I think he likes the character.
I think there's like a list of characters he wanted to use that he probably had to, trim the roster down. It's a huge roster, Suicide Squad. That obviously, a lot of them to kill. And we're just gonna say this because it's a hilarious hashtag, but. CT Kook with the Seth Rogen as Sasquatch. Hashtag Sasquatch. Make it happen.
I think there's
there you go. Sil, there you go. Sil was just saying Judo Master is in Peacekeeper. I think Gunn just confirmed that. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, so that's what that was.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love Judo Master.
There you go. So now we're hearing about the Judo Master. Maybe Dick Dragon as the other weird martial arts guy. Chuck Hensey say that Judo Master is in the Vigilante series. I thought the Vigilante was going to actually appear in Peacemaker. I thought it was vice versa. Either way, they're all coming. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, let's get right to it. Hold off on your questions for a minute, boys and girls. We got a long-term spec list, so I will let Mikey read off the characters that he's got. This is characters that he's hearing that are being researched right now. He may be able to tell you which phase it's for, which film it's for, but what is the first character you're hearing about? Get your pens and paper out.
Let me open up my file here that I sent you.
I actually have the graphics, so I can probably just show it up there to remind you.
Okay, I got it here.
All right. First off, who do we got?
We got Captain Britain, and this is for Phase 4, so he's coming up pretty soon.
So obviously I didn't put in the Captain Britain UK comic on there. It is astronomical at this point, but this is a great alternative. If you can't afford a Captain Britain #1, Marvel Team Up #65 is the first U.S. appearance of Captain Britain, and he's fighting Spider-Man.
Hey, T-VO, I'll be right back. Okay, hold on just a minute. I'll be right back.
All right. I will answer some questions for you in the live chat. Code Red. Yes, we had a couple of cannonballs already. You know what? I will read the second LTS here, since I think this one is relatively easy. So we're waiting for Mikey to come back. Next up on the long-term spec list is the Fixer. First appearance, believe it or not, Strange Tales #141. If you want to look up the Fixer, he's been around for a minute, but if you find out, here's the interesting thing: when people looked up like the first appearance of Madam Viper, it was like an early issue of Strange Tales, but this version of the Fixer was also in the Thunderbolts. So there you go. If you look up the Fixer's kind of his origins. He went on to a different name, and then he ended up being, his character's name is Norbert Ebersol, right? So he was also one what teams was he part of here? He was part of the Thunderbolts. He was also part of some other teams, but he's been around since 1966. His first appearance is Strange Tales number 141. He's like a kind of a scientist, robot kind of guy. But go ahead, Mikey. What are you hearing about the Fixer?
Okay, as far as let me go back to Captain Britain here. The last I heard about where Captain Britain could potentially be introduced is in the Shang-Chi franchise.
Makes perfect sense because part of Shang-Chi was actually part of, what is that, MI6 or MI 13, whatever it is?
MI 13, I believe it was. And so if you're looking to see, but he's not going to be in the first film, though, so I don't think so, unless they surprise us. But that's where you can expect him to be in, is there. I'm looking forward to that, man. He's a great character.
It's only a matter of time, man. I mean, everybody has their, casting favorites for this, but I don't think it'll be Henry Cavill. I think that it'll be somebody else. I think Henry Cavill.
Well, in terms of little trivia out there, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Alan Moore introduced the 616 concept in a Captain Britain comic book.
Wow. Quite possibly, because Captain Britain Corps, they have their they deal with the multiverse a lot. So
there you go. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Doctor Strange will give us a little cameo and talk about the Captain Britain Corps, man. So
that'd be awesome, right? How cool that would be.
First up on the long-term spec list. Been a while now. We've been talking about it. Captain Britain's just a matter of time. Next up is this goofy character, man. Way back in Strange Tales 141. Who is it?
Yeah, the Fixer. Don't know where this guy's gonna be. I mean, this is one of the stranger ones that I got.
He was a member of the Thunderbolts.
Oh, he was. Okay, there you go. Well, that makes sense then.
Yeah, so he was part of Hydra. He has connections to Deathlock, Masters of Evil.
Oh, wow.
He's had quite a few things, but probably became most popular when he became part of the Thunderbolts. I mean, if you remember, the Thunderbolts took some really C-list characters and they just thrust them into these other roles here. Next up is a character that has been blown up in the comics, and people have just been waiting for it. Who is it?
It's Omega Red.
That's right.
It's speculated forever, right? People like he's gonna be in Black Widow. He's gonna be here and there.
The book is blowing up. I think the most popular spec has been that he was going to be in Black Widow, but then they thought he was going to be the spec. This book jumped up when Black Widow was being shown, and then it got hot again when they thought he was going to be in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah. All I know about Omega Red, I don't know where exactly he'll be introduced, but you are looking at what they are developing as among the X-Men's prime villains. He's not going to be like Crossbones that just shows up, here and there. This is a major bad guy. So if you guys are speculating on this book, I get it.
It's a high print run. So if you can, find it, go it. I mean, one of the dope Jim Lee covers of the day. People don't. You and I remember when this book came out. It was so hot, right? X-Men. It was just so hot, and then animated series. I mean, X-Men was everything when this book came out, especially when Jim Lee decided to launch X-Men and then end up leaving and going off and doing his own thing. But remember, Jim Lee was a superstar at that time. I mean, if you think Todd McFarlane doing Spider-Man and then Jim Lee doing X-Men, so there you go. All right, who's up next on the long-term spec list?
Yeah, I got just this quick thing about Jim Lee. I've never seen an artist remain as hot as he has. Like, if Jim Lee does anything now, it's still like almost as hot as it was 30 years ago. I've never seen that longevity, right? I mean, the guy is extremely popular. Next
him and McFarlane are like the only two I can think of. Yeah, and Greg Capullo. Greg Capullo started on Spawn way back in the 90s, and he's been around. But no, obviously the original guys that left Marvel and then started Image, and then Jim Lee ended up becoming the head of DC, which is funny is they brought Jim Lee and his Wildstorm characters over, and then they just dispensed of it. I just think Grifter just showed up recently, and I heard recently there's going to be doing another Authority comic. Because I remember, I don't know if it was on Sill Show or if it was on Small Screen Co. where they talked about Midnighter. As Midnighter is part of the Authority, which was a Wildstorm property that Jim Lee brought over to DC with him. Oh, still there, Mikey?
Yeah, Tony, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah, so Midnighter is part of the Authority, and the Authority is now under DC Comics. So if it's going to be on HBO Max or something, it'd be interesting. Kind of Midnighter is the Authority's version, a much more violent version of Batman, by the way. But there you go. All right, who's next up on the long-term spec
One
list?
of my all-time favorites. God, I love her. Senator the She-Devil.
Oh,
actually, no,
wrong
Jigsaw is next. I'm sorry, Jigsaw.
All right, there you go.
So, you know where it's going to happen, right? It's yeah. He's coming in the Punisher. Now, what I'm hearing is that we're getting a real accurate Jigsaw here, where he's got the real fucked up face, okay?
Yeah. Because they showed it briefly on the Punisher series, didn't they?
Yeah. Well,
But
they had the actor, I can't remember his name. He's in Shadow and Bone now.
Yeah.
But he wasn't really, like, they wanted to keep the actor's pretty face, right?
Yeah. So the cameo of Jigsaw is in actually ASM 161. His first full-blown appearance as Billy Russo's Jigsaw is Amazing Spider-Man number 162. So expect that in a Punisher series. But there you go. Since you jumped the gun already, I'll go ahead and show them.
Senator the She-Devil, man. I love his character because I'm not sure if many of you are old enough to remember the Kazar the Savage comic book series from the 80s, which was one of the first adult comics. I mean, like, they were having sex in the first issue, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, and it was a very mature book for its time. It was Comics Code approved. But Bruce Jones, the writer, gave her a real three-dimensional personality, and Kazar was very intelligent. He wasn't a Tarzan ripoff in there. This book has been speculated on for a while now, and it was really weird, right? Like,
yeah, what is she going to be in?
You know, of all things, she's going to be in an X-Men movie.
There you go.
Because the X-Men, what they're planning on, and I scooped this on your show, actually.
Yeah, you did.
Years ago. The second film, they're going to go to the Savage Land, where they are going to meet Kazar and Shanna. And so that's where you're going to see her. And if you're looking at a character that has Disney Plus potential, bingo. You know?
And also Sauron. We had that on long-term spec list. So if you read the X-Men comics, I mean, they go to the Savage Land, and Sauron is this weird pterodactyl that has like weird mental powers. He's like one of the weirdest characters there. He's like a pterodactyl that can take control of your mind. So not only you getting mind control, but you're getting mind control by a pterodactyl, which is crazy. All right, next up is...
answer the question by Sam Klosko. That is a Saranko cover. It's funny. I bought this in 2011, 2013 for $8, right? Like near mint condition. It's a book I always wanted, right? And there was no spec on the book whatsoever back then.
Nope.
And I had no idea Jim Steranko drew this cover. It doesn't look like Steranko to me, but it's Jim Steranko.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't do the internal art. He just did the cover for it.
The cover,
I have like a 9.0 I have sitting somewhere.
Oh, really? Awesome. Dude, hold on to that one.
It's a raw. I bought it way before then, and then when we spec'd it again, I went into my LCS, and it was like a $10 wall book. And so I bought this like 2 years ago. So, yeah. So it's coming eventually, man. But Kazar is another great spec book, too. I think Kazar is a grossly undervalued book, by the way. Although it's got the unfortunate thing about it is it's an early X-Men comic too. So you may be priced out of it because the way X-Men comics are selling now.
But what's really funny though is that the first real appearance of Kazar, not this version, but the Golden Age version, is Marvel Comics #1. So it's very affording that.
Yeah, we're talking the Golden Age, the Golden Age Human Torch, the Golden Age, the Angel, like before the Mutant Angel. Speaking of angels and demons, who's next?
Okay, you gotta help me pronounce it. Zarathos?
Yeah, Zarathos.
Zarathos, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously he's gonna be coming in the Ghost Rider project. Imagine Zack Snyder getting all of this guy, huh?
Mm-hmm. And Ghost Rider and Zarathos is the original origin of Ghost Rider. His powers came from Zarathos. Later on, it got mixed in with Mephisto to the point where actually Mephisto kicked Zarathos out of hell, and Mephisto took over. Flash forward to just last year or so, then Ghost Rider kicked Mephisto and became the ruler of hell. So where goes Zarathos? Where goes Mephisto? What? I was shocked there's not been one Mephisto question in here at all whatsoever. I'm very disappointed, you guys.
Yeah, no Mephisto here.
Yeah. All right, next up.
Yeah, this is a little interesting trivia here. I believe, if I recall correctly, Paul McCartney mentioned this guy in one of his songs. Crimson Dynamo.
Wow.
Iron Man, classic Iron Man villain here.
So I went with the current version of Crimson Dynamo, by the way, because the original Crimson Dynamo is like in the early Tales of Suspense, right in the 50s. So it's a bit pricey. But the good news for you is there's been multiple iterations of Crimson Dynamo, and I do believe this one, Valentin Avenovich Shadalov, is the most current iteration of Crimson Dynamo.
And I got something here while you and I were talking. I got a text message from an insider who's watching us right now. And he told me that if you and I are on the air next Sunday, I will let your viewers know where Omega Red's going to appear in.
There you go. Well, we tease it, so you got to show up next Sunday, guys.
Next
Boys
Sunday,
and girls.
don't miss it, because
5 p.m. We're going to tell you where Crimson Dynamo is going to go. It could be Armor Wars, could be who knows, maybe Ironheart. I don't know, man. I'm just throwing things out there. So if you've been paying attention to us this whole show, we named off a character or two that not quite yet, but we're getting there. Who's next up on the long-term spec list?
Yeah, the next one. Oh, I think this is the one. Yep, there it is. Yep, Arrow. One of those characters that personally means a lot to me because I'm half Filipino, half Asian, of course. And everybody I know of is very excited about Agents of Atlas heading to the MCU. I am hearing that Arrow will be among the first people that we see from that team. That Jimmy Woo is going to form. This will be the Asian Avengers, and they're coming. Make no mistake, they're coming.
I mean, do you think as soon as Shang-Chi 2, that we can see
Shang-Chi 2, because they are going to form in that franchise. I think by the second film, we will probably see Arrow in there, and they'll probably form by the third. But piece by piece, Kevin Feige's got a formula or a plan with these teams, right? Like Thunderbolts, we're seeing Baron Zemo, right? And you're going to see the same thing with Agents of Atlas. You're going to see the characters start to show up, and all of a sudden they're all together. So Arrow is very important to Marvel.
Yeah, and this book, I mean, people have been specking on this book, and, where there's smoke, there's fire. Sometimes when there's smoke, it's just smoke, but I mean, the way they, first of all, Arrow debuted in a Chinese digital comic, I believe. So there really is, her first appearance, if you look up Arrow, is not New Agents of Atlas, but it's a different book, but it was released in China just in digital format. So there's no hard copy or single loose copy of that comic. When New Agents of Atlas came out, they said, let's take Arrow. Swordmaster was the other Chinese character that they had developed for this kind of digital comic. He appears on the cover, but he's not in this comic, which is interesting, by the way. But also, obviously, Wave, huge. When Wave made her debut, it hit Cosmopolitan in the Philippines. All right, that's how big it made for mainstream media in the Philippines.
Yeah, a little bit of history on that. Also, want a shout out to Don't Call Me Wave, Kate for Wave, indeed. Just in case anybody is wondering what this all means, when Wave, before Wave even came out, I noticed a similarity between her and a celebrity that I'm friends with named Kate Valdez from the Philippines, very popular actress there. And so I started a Kate for Wave social media campaign. This is before the Wave first appearance of Wave came out, right? And so I launched it in the Philippines. Her network, GMA network, picked up on it and started getting the news out that, hey, Kate Valdez would be the perfect Wave. And when that comic book hit the Philippines, it was huge, right? Because the whole
and we're talking
Wave
about
campaign.
the Miko Siyuan variant, which features
oh god,
Wave and the Filipino flag on there. I bet.
yeah, oh god,
For
that
those
was
who don't know,
humongous.
there's huge comic book
Yeah.
creators from the Philippines, right? If you just think
Yeah, oh god, that was
Wills Pertasio, Miko Siyuan, I mean, it just goes on and on. Lots of comic book artists were doing that.
yeah, it's funny because so many people in the Philippines said, I don't read comic books. I don't know. I'm not familiar with them. But I know Agents of Atlas thanks to your Kate for Wave campaign.
Yeah.
So there you
And
go.
there's another character. I think her name is Ocean Master. Was also
Yeah,
a Filipino character
yeah.
that debuted in that. So some great art on there. So we have one more for the long-term spec list, and we'll answer some questions for you. If you're playing at home, we said this character's name earlier.
Okay. Yeah, spoiler alert. We actually accidentally spoiled this one earlier by Agent Venom.
Yeah, so this book has been spec'd on Upwit. So this is Flash Thompson's version of Agent Venom. There's also the Eddie Brock version, I do believe. There was actually a symbiote version of it, but I'm going to go with this one because this is probably by far. There's even an Agent Anti-Venom. I mean, it's just crazy, all the Venom tentacles that this creates. Where are you hearing about this? Will it be the Flash Thompson from the Spider-Man films? Are they going with that version?
I'm glad you gave me. See, this is one of the things I love about doing the LTS review is that you fill in the details for me. Because all I have are names, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And sometimes they don't tell me where they're intending his character to be in.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Agent Venom, the Flash Thompson version, is Flash Thompson's been a long his first appearance in Amazing Fantasy 15. Come on, guys. All right, so Flash Thompson ends up joining the military, I believe, and he loses both his legs. He bonds with a version of the symbiote and gives him this kind of legs and these kind of superpowers, and he becomes Agent Venom. As you know, the whole Venom series has kind of changed, but this is the one most people, I think, are familiar with. So what are you hearing about the possibility of where Agent Venom will appear?
Yeah, so Agent Venom is one of the characters that Sony would like Marvel Studios to do something with in the MCU. They feel that he is perfect for Kevin Feige's supervision. And so one of the things that Sony brought up was, would you be interested in having Agent Venom be part of a group? And so, one of the things I've been hearing is that there's a possibility here because nothing's been solidified. They're not developing the character yet. But one of the discussions that brought up was having Agent Venom either in Dark Avengers or Thunderbolts, because he is kind of a darker edge character that would fit into one of those teams. So,
how do you think the reception of the Venom sequel would affect their plans for this? What if the Venom sequel just shits the bed critically at the box office everywhere? And what if it absolutely blows everybody's minds? And I still have my doubts on Venom 2, even though it has Carnage.
Yeah.
Venom without Spider-Man is just,
it's weird, right?
Well, I meant with Donny Cates. Oh, shout out to Donny Cates. I just mentioned it. Oh, man, I just did it to myself. Shout out to Donny Cates and what he's done on the whole world of symbiotes and everything. And it's going to end on this run right here. The next comic that's coming is going to be the 200s. And I'm dropping that. This is actually from KRS Comics website. They're teasing that for you boys and girls. And that means it may drop this week. And they always drop a day after the Lord's show. So tune into the Lord's. We'll give you a discount code for that. But Agent Venom is an interesting one. So Sony wants Feige to take control of it because they feel that the MCU can really blow up with this character, and Sony wants to work more and more with. You cut out there a little bit, Mikey. All right, we got a question here. Hopefully, Mikey, you can hear this. My question is, are the rumors true that Favreau is now being groomed to take over Kathleen Kennedy in the very near future? Kathleen Kennedy, are you there, Mikey?
Yeah, can you hear me?
All right, yeah, we got a question here, and I figure since we're celebrating Star Wars Week with the, May the 4th be with you, we got a Star Wars question. The question is, we've talked about it before, so I think this one I could tee up for you. The question is, are the rumors true that Jon Favreau is now being groomed to take over for Kathleen Kennedy in the very near future?
I will say this. Once Kathleen Kennedy steps down, retires.
2023, right? That's when her contract's up?
Yeah. I'm 100% confident that Favreau will take over her.
Yeah. I believe somebody even asked Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni's like, no, I'm not ready for it. It's way too big of a thing, and I'm doing my own thing, storytelling. So, but Favreau, he has brought back the confidence and faith of a lot of people. I mean, Ahsoka. I think it's a combination of Favreau and Filoni and George Lucas. I think it's a combination of all of them. And you got to give Kathleen Kennedy some props, right? I mean, sure, you can blame her for the movies that you didn't like, but she also brought you the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch and the stuff you're getting now, the Mandalorian. You're going to get it with the Book of Boba Fett soon. So, she's, she's been around Lucas and Spielberg for like decades, right? I mean, people just associate her with the modern Star Wars films, but she was also like part of Indiana Jones movies and some of these other films. So she's been around for a while. Movies,
The thing with Kathleen Kennedy is that she's only as good as the people that she works with. And if she doesn't rein in their bad decisions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because look, she got Filoni on The Mandalorian. Look how well that turned out, right?
I mean, if you watch the Gallery show, I believe it's called on Disney Plus, the creative minds behind each episode, absolutely phenomenal. They had Taika Waititi, Peyton Reed, I think, also did the finale. Dave Filoni did the Ahsoka Tano episode. I mean, it was just incredible what they were doing. Hey, we kind of skimmed over that earlier, but we didn't talk about it. Here we go. We can talk about this. With Zeus coming to the MCU, will we see Ares? Wow, that took a left turn on me there. I was like looking for the obvious, which is Hercules, but go ahead. You will see Ares. Yeah. And I think Feige would be like, that's cute what you guys did on Wonder Woman with Ares. Let me show you what I think the God of War should do. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. He'll do it right.
Yeah, but who are you hearing?
Somebody asked earlier about Henry Cavill as Hercules. That's not happening.
Yeah. Although I thought it was great. It would be great casting.
It would be, yeah.
Yeah, but shout out to Daniel RPK who dropped that scoop as then Henry Cavill being groomed as Hercules when we had a long-term spec list, I do believe, way back when about Zeus, Hercules, and I remember back then we were talking about there was going to be a Hercules Disney Plus show, and we were talking about the run they were thinking about doing is the Bob Layton miniseries. Yeah,
it was during the mystery.
Yeah,
and that's still in the works. They're still thinking about it because Lady Sif can have her own story arc.
I mean, Gore the God Butcher in Thor: Love and Thunder, and then when Russell Crowe was announced as Zeus, I go, boom. I already see it happening. Gore is going to be killing all the gods of Pantheon. Yeah. Russell Crowe is going to die again like he did in Man of Steel. He's going to get his one movie, then he's going to die or live on in a robot form in a spaceship somewhere. But I always watch Man of Steel. I'm like, man, that is a super
would be, yeah.
That is one of the smartest AIs in a ship I have ever known. That Russell Kal-El's dad and inside the ship, I was like, that is one of the smartest artificial intelligence I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's going to reach out and give him a hug.
If you guys have read the Hercules Prince of Power miniseries,
that came out in the 80s,
it's one of the funniest comic books ever written by Bob Layton. Anyway, that's the Hercules they're going to see in the MCU. That in that comic book, he got Galactus drunk in that book, and it's one of the funniest shit, and it fits into the sense of humor of the director there. I think that book influenced him, actually.
Taika Waititi doing a Hercules movie, count me in.
It's because very Thor Ragnarok-ish. I mean, it's very similar, you know?
I mean, Hercules has always kind of been a goofy character, and recently they kind of there was a a series I read last year where they kind of Hercules got a new costume. He's not wearing the funky shorts anymore, and he's and they kind of made him a bit more serious. And it had something to do with like the Greek gods and Zeus, and they got taken over by some other, and then I think Zeus got killed again. It's weird how Odin has all the power in the MCU and Zeus has nothing. But I think that's on purpose because of Wonder Woman and the Greek gods. They were like, hey, let's take this Norse mythology and we'll put our spin on it and what they're going to do. But Gerard Butler for Hercules. Wow, that's interesting. He's getting a little old there, but he's got a great voice for it too, though. He's another one of those Scottish actors that cannot do an American accent to save the life of him.
I always felt that Bruce Campbell in Army of Darkness. That's the Hercules from that '80s book right there. That goofy grin. I mean, that's. But he's too old for that role now.
Yeah, look at that. Hey, our first X-Men question. Hey, we know the X-Men are coming to the MCU eventually. Other than our staple X-Men like Wolverine, Xavier, and Storm, will there be any new X-Men that will also feature, i.e., Kid Omega? Man, that is super new. So I guess they're saying
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah. So they're talking about new mutants as opposed to the more established mutants.
If the new, okay, I gotta praise this correctly. I don't mean new mutants, but the mutants that you haven't seen before that you will see in the MCU, expect properties from the 80s and 90s. That's what they're focusing on. The John Byrne, Chris Claremont runs, and the Jim Lee runs. That's what they're looking at.
Because similar to DC and the animated shows that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? The Jon Stewart Green Lantern. A lot of kids grew up in the X-Men animated series. We're talking the Jim Lee, the Jubilee team, that whole team. And I remember us talking about this, like they were thinking about rebooting the X-Men animated series for Disney Plus. Like I do believe the original showrunners, like, we're down. Just give us and we're down to do that. I think that would be great. But there's so many mutants. Like I think you and I talked about this we had it on a long-term spec list that Spider-Man's one of his next trilogy of films is going to take place in college, and his roommates are going to be Firestar and Bobby Drake, Iceman. And that follows what you're just talking about. That follows Spider-Man and his amazing friends. So I think the introduction of mutants will be scattered throughout. It won't just be like, here are the mutants in an X-Men film. It'll be like, here's Omega Red. Here's, Iceman. Here's somebody else. Here's not Wolverine in an anthology series.
Keep in mind that like going forward, see, Kevin Feige is an artist in terms of his vision, but he's also a businessman. Yeah. And what he's looking at here are multiple generations that are seeing these films. Like with Miss Marvel, he knows the younger generations really likes her.
Yeah. Teenagers, yeah.
Yeah. But with the X-Men, he's looking at, okay, what are people most familiar with? The animated series will be a huge influence on the next X-Men trilogy. It'll be a huge influence.
Definitely.
If you guys love that cartoon, be very excited.
Yeah. And the animation doesn't hold up as much anymore, but the stories were very, very serious. Very serious.
Good.
So since we're there, we haven't heard much about this. Recently, I read a story about the Silver Surfer, and I do believe, who was talking about it? It was Adam McKay, who said that, he was, it was asked about, and he said he would love to do a Silver Surfer solo film. But any word on Silver Surfer to look out in the future? Any movie appearances, solo movie, Disney Plus series maybe? What are you hearing? What's the latest on Silver Surfer?
Yeah. I keep hearing that Fantastic Four will still be his debut. Not the first one. Again, they're really building up to the Galactus story, and they want to do it right. That's the trilogy in the comic book with Kirby and Stan Lee is one of Kevin Feige's greatest stories, right? And that has as much meaning to him as Lord of the Rings would have to some people. I mean, it's like a holy trilogy and he wants to do this right. So Silver Surfer will make his first appearance in the Fantastic Four film. They're going to very well, they're gonna follow the comics as closely as possible.
Yep, Mole Man. They're gonna do it all. They're gonna do Mole Man.
Yep.
So Frankie Ray. I mean, we've been talking
Yep.
about Frankie Ray is gonna end up being in the story. She's gonna be the Human Torch's girlfriend, and then
Yep.
sacrifice herself like Silver Surfer. The whole the mythos of Silver Surfer and the heralds of Galactus. It's almost Silver Surfer and Galactus, and then Silver Surfer sacrificing himself to save his planet of Zenla. In the comics, John Byrne's fantastic run, where they did that story about the trial of Reed Richards and that coming of Galactus, where Frankie Ray is enamored by that story of Norn Rad sacrificing himself to save Zenla, right? So she ends up sacrificing herself because remember, Reed Richards saves Galactus' life, and then Galactus like, I still need to consume a world for me to survive. Because at that point, Reed Richards understands that Galactus is a force of nature. He's not a good guy or a bad guy. And in spoiler alert, he went towards his girlfriend, Frankie Ray. I mean, I shouldn't even have to say spoilers. One of the greatest stories of all comics of all time, right? I'm right up there with the Death of Phoenix. That 3-issue story. The John Byrne run where Galactus comes back to Earth and all the Avengers and all the X-Men help fight. And that's when Reed Richards saves Galactus' life. And then the next story arc, he gets put on trial by like the Kree and the rest of the universe for saving Galactus' life. The trial of Reed Richards, one of the greatest stories ever. I think that would also be a great run in the comics as well.
Incredible.
Silver Surfer can get super, super intellectually deep on you though, because he's such a philosophical thing. Where in the I hate to say it, in the Donny Cates run, shout out to Donny Cates, they made him such a blunt instrument of just power and destruction. Where on the character itself is a much more philosophical. Like he's literally trapped on Earth, and he learns to deal with humanity. He learns about humanity being trapped on Earth. And it wasn't until I think the John Byrne I know a lot about Silver Surfer. He's my top 3 favorite heroes. During the John Byrne one-shot, that's a story that tells him how Galactus, I believe, eventually frees him, and he's able to free himself from the Earth. And then there's that Silver Surfer solo series that ran for a good 150 issues that came out in the 80s, which also features the first appearance of the Infinity Gauntlet. So there you go. So, I mean, all those are great stories. You know, I mean, it's just so much. But like you said, the coming Galactus needs to be spread out over, it could be like a Thanos over the next 10 movies, right? Unfortunately, we had the Fox Galactus Cloud.
Is awful.
Which is actually, you know, people shit on that. That's actually the Ultimates version of Galactus, by the way. You know,
but the Silver Surfer was done well in that film, though.
Lawrence Fishburne was the voice of him. One of the few things.
Cool,
And Frankie Ray is actually in that film. She is the Air Force officer that Chris Evans is flirting with, by the way. Man, Chris Evans has been around for a long time, but oh my God. The original cartoon that was on Fox, the Silver Surfer cartoon. Holy cow, who was that for? That was for adults on LSD. That does not for kids. It's
on Disney Plus now.
Yeah.
I think Harlan Ellison wrote one of the stories, and they're like, Harlan Ellison running a Saturday morning cartoon, okay?
Yeah. So I definitely see, you know, we're going to see more stories where they leave Earth. Let's just let Earth rest for a while. It's been blown up and, you know, so many times. You know, there's a lot of stories out there to tell, and Guardians of the Galaxy was really the only ones that were telling off-planet stories. But now you got Captain Marvel flying around in space. You can have another Guardians movie. You get the Silver Surfer. You can tell a lot of stories. It's going to be really cosmic and really supernatural. You know what I mean? And then we're still going to have these street level characters because look at how fantastic the Falcon and Winter Soldier did, right? I mean, that was just absolutely fantastic. So they're laying the groundwork for everything. And then we got Shang-Chi doing a martial arts film. Perfect. Just perfect. All right, man. We are almost on an hour and 30 minutes, Mikey. Sorry about that, but I am tired and I'm starving. But I had fun talking about comics and stuff. And only one Snyderverse question too. Look at that. That's amazing. Good job to you all. Give yourselves a round of applause. All right, Mikey. Any last words besides tuning in next Sunday? We will have a live.
It's going to be. I'm going to discuss Omega Red.
All right.
Next Sunday.
Was it Crimson Dynamo or Omega Red?
Omega Red.
All right. So in case you don't know, one of Mikey's scoopers was watching the show live and sent him a text message and says, "Hey, I'm going to give you something next Friday about, or next Sunday live about Omega Red." Maybe Crimson Dynamo too. You never know, man. But
never know.
Yeah, we will see you guys next Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific for the Letters from the Long Box, episode 25, anniversary issue. There we go. We're up to 25 issues. All right.
Like a double-sized.
They're double-sized. Don't tell that to the folks, man. All right. So we will see you on Tuesday for the Cover Price Top 10, and it's May the 4th. So you know we're going to be doing a special Star Wars episode. Any last words, Mikey?
Just geekosymag.com is where you'll find me. And I pop up on a bunch of YouTube shows too, so I'm everywhere.
He's everywhere. He's everywhere.
Next Sunday, though, we do Letters again next Sunday, and I'll drop a Mega Red nuclear bomb because you don't miss the shows. Trust me.
All right. So we'll see you Tuesday for the Cover Price Top 10, Thursday for the Shakers, and then Sunday next week, celebrating Star Wars all week long, man. Maybe we'll even be in costume or something. But until next time, boys and girls, keep digging in them long boxes. Peace out.
Now let's do this! Rewind, select and come again. Pull up that from the top to the very last. Jump.
Who are you to make their lives bitter in hard bondage? In this you shall know that the Lord is update. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, do it! We're here! We're back!
Let's do a job! You can't get fresher than this.
In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's 5 greatest heroes. Their mission, to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
When it comes, I won't even notice.
Oh, how so?
I'll be too busy looking